Welcome back to Life's Chillin'. My name is Avital, and this week's Parsha is Parshat Behar, which is a really beautiful Parsha which teaches us the laws of Shemitah, the sabbatical year, and Yovel, the Jubilee year. And if you're not familiar with these concepts, I will quickly explain them. But in the land of Israel, the idea is that you work the land for 6 years, and in that 7th year, the Shemitah year, sabbatical year, you rest the land. You're not allowed to work the land at all. So you can't sow the land, you can't harvest it, you just have to let the land sit there for a year. And actually, if you let the land sit there for a year, in the 8th year, you are just planting new seeds and doing the work of the land. And it's not till sometime in the 9th year that you get new produce and are able to eat that produce and sell that produce and continue to gain benefit from the land. And the Jubilee year, the Yovel year, that is after 7 cycles of Shemitah, so after 49 years. That 50th year is called the Jubilee year, the Yovel year, and it's also a year that you let the land rest. And in that 50th year also, land that, the Israel, when it was created in the times of the Torah, was divided between the tribes. And so land that maybe had been leased out to other nations or other people during those last 50 years gets returned to its ancestral heritage in the 50th year. Other things that happen during these cycles is that slaves are freed. So any slaves that the Jewish people had would be freed after this period of time. And so it's a really unique set of laws. We get some other really beautiful laws in this week's Parsha, such as that Jewish people are not allowed to charge interest to other Jewish people, and that if our brothers and sisters, if they are really poor and becoming impoverished and destitute, we have to do what we can to redeem them, the Torah calls it. We have to do what we can to stop them from being impoverished. And that if, in the times when we had slavery, if our brethren were getting to the point of that they'd have to sell themselves into slavery in order to provide for themselves, we would have to do what we could to stop them, to support them, to redeem them again financially, in order to save our brothers and sisters from becoming slaves. And so we gain some really beautiful, beautiful laws in this week's Parsha pertaining to the way we have to help our brothers and sisters when they are in difficult times. But it's interesting because if you're looking at it purely from a financial perspective of, is this the way to make the most money possible? I don't know if it is, because not charging interest to our brethren, that seems like someplace where you could be making money and you're not. Letting the land rest essentially for this 3 years out of every 10 years, you could be making money during those 3 years if you kept working the land. Not having slaves were doing labor for you, and that seems like a way that they would be making a lot of money. So it seemed a little bit illogical that if we're trying to be making money, how is it that we have these laws? So I think the Torah provides the answer to that question, and it's a really beautiful thing. The Torah tells us, it says, this is God speaking to the Jewish people. And if you should say, what will we eat in the 7th year? We will not sow, we will not gather our produce. I will command my blessing for you in the 6th year, and it will yield produce for 3 years. So what the Torah is saying, what God is saying is that if you're observing my laws, if you're resting the land when I'm asking you to rest the land, I will bless you so greatly that you will have enough to last you those 3 years where you are honoring me by not working the land. And I think that is truly the concept for all of those things, because it's like God blessed us to have enough money that we don't have to be charging interest to our brethren, that we don't have to have slaves, that we can free the slaves that we have when the proper time comes. We are not supposed to be people who are having such little faith in God that we're trying to scrape odds and ends of money wherever we can get them. first comes our morals, first comes our ethics and our values as people, and then comes our monetary success in the order of the hierarchy of what's most important. It's most important to be honoring God and to be respecting our brethren than it is to be trying to earn every last bit of money that we possibly can. And it also requires us to have faith in God. I was thinking about this concept, and it reminded me a lot of manna. Manna was the food that the Jewish people ate when they were in the desert. And so the Jews were in the desert between the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan for 40 years. The way it worked, as just a quick review, is that every single morning, the Jewish people would wake up and they would go out of their tents and there would be manna for them to collect. It was this cake-like substance. And it was really cool because if they tried to take too much manna, more than their portion, the excess would become rotten. And it was really a way of sort of God training the Jewish people to say, you have to have faith that I'm going to provide for your needs every day. You trying to take too much is just a sign that you are concerned that I'm not going to provide for you tomorrow. It's a sign that you are worried that you won't have enough in the future. You're trying to take that excess. And I think that really can apply back to this week's Parsha and back to the concept of financial trust in God, because we have to believe that we don't have to, again, go after every single dollar and every single cent that we can have, that we have to place our faith that God's going to continue to provide for us, and especially that God's going to provide for us if we are following in the laws and if we are treating others fairly in terms of our monetary practices, if we are being respectful to people and not cheating them in business and helping them where we can and things like that, that we will especially receive honor and financial success in return. I thought it was really interesting as I was also preparing this that on the back of all currency in the United States, it says, "In God we trust." And while our founding fathers weren't Jewish, they had that same concept and awareness that financial success, where did this dollar come from? Financial success comes from God. And we have to place our trust in God that we are going to have this dollar when we need this dollar. And that without God, we are not going to have anything. So I think it's a really powerful concept that we all could try and take to heart. And I wish you all a wonderful week and a Shabbat Shalom, and I look forward to speaking with you next time.